Now, sitting on the hood of the Corolla that used to belong to her grandmother, she tried to weigh the decision one more time. Do I finish the last year of school and become a CPA, or do I quit in order to work full-time towards becoming a lounge singer? Being a lounge singer was a dream of hers ever since she was 10, and her parents let her go with a friend of hers, Rachel, up to Milwaukee for New Year's Eve. Rachel's mom was dating a jazz musician that had a gig to play at the downtown Hyatt Regency in the hotel bar. They went up in an old Ford van, packed to the brim with gear. There was barely enough room for Sally, who had to sit on top of a speaker, wedged between a window and a stack of cables and cases that she had to hold up during the duration of the trip to keep from falling on her. Still, Rachel and Sally found this to be incredibly fun. After swimming in the hotel pool for 3 hours, the girls went to the room, dried off, and got dressed. They then went to check in with Rachel's mom and the band down at the bar. When they got there, they were too intimidated to walk all the way in, but there was a large open arc with a step going up into the bar area, so they could see in just fine. The bar was crowded, and people seemed in high spirits as the band came to the end of Summer Wind. The audience applauded, chatted, drank, and smoked, all at once. They could see Rachel's mom looking flushed, smiling and laughing at the bar. Her boyfriend, the large black man on stage holding a trumpet, signaled her over. They were laughing and joking with each other, but Sally and Rachel couldn't make out just what they were saying. It was clear that they had both been drinking, and that her boyfriend was trying to get her to come on stage. The rest of the band started clapping, which made the audience start to clap, and she finally submitted and came up to the microphone. The band started playing Night and Day by Cole Porter. It took her a few moments to find the rhythm, but she did, and started singing. At first, she jokingly caricatured a bad lounge singer, and this endeared her to the crowd, and got them laughing and engaged. But then, she settled down into the song. She got more serious, more natural, and the audience could tell she was singing more honestly and from the heart. Her inflections and choices became more subtle, and to Sally's astonishment, she seemed to be hypnotizing her and the rest of the audience, taking them on some emotional journey. Sally was snapped out of this trance by Rachel shaking a fistful of quarters in her face. "Frogger, Frogger, Frogger," she said, and led Sally off to the arcade. The last thing Rachel wanted to do was to watch her drunk mom embarrass herself. Sally had held that memory close to her chest for a long time. It's not something she shared with people. But here, sitting on the car, watching the lights of the horizon change from blacks to purples to blue, as the sun inched closer to rising, she felt at a turning point. What had brought this on? She didn't think she would be apprehensive about graduating with still a year of school left. Was it something she read? Something she saw? Something she ate? It must have been a dream she had one night, she thought. A dream she couldn't remember even having, but still it was powerful enough to make her wake up one morning and be obsessed with change. So here she was, butt up against two life options, just like being against the window of the van and all that gear, but much, much less fun, torturing herself with this either-or decision. How did it get to this? Just then, the first sliver of the sun broke the horizon, and for the first time all night, her mind went silent. It wasn't some glorious transitory experience. She just simply forgot what she was thinking about and watched the sunrise. The sun seems to move so quickly when it's up against the horizon, and you have something to compare it to. It also looks so big and orange at the horizon. Science would have you believe it's more orange because the light is passing through so much atmosphere at that angle. They would also have you believe that the sun looks bigger at the horizon due to an optical illusion of light bending. They would have you believe all of this, when logic clearly dictates that the sun is a chariot drawn by celestial horses across the sky, chasing away the black pinholed fabric drawn over us by night. And when the sun sets, the chariot goes beneath the belly of the turtle, whose shell the world rests on. And just as the sun separated from the ground, Sally had another thought. Couldn't these both be true? Why do I have to put myself in this position of either or? Physically, I am two halves. I'm built to break things in two. But I am also whole, like the sun. And why can't I do both things? Why can't I be a CPA and a jazz singer? Just then, she posed the question to the sun at the top of her lungs. Why can't I be a CPA and a jazz singer? And of course, the sun didn't have an answer. The sun wasn't going to shout back. Science could have told you that. But not having an answer was an answer in itself. There was no reason she couldn't have both, and from this day forward, Sally's behavior started to change. First of all, she would break into song at odd times and places, usually singing about things she saw right in front of her. It was disconcerting to be around her when, for example, someone would ask her for a pen in class, and she would sing at the top of her lungs. Hey, needy face, let me check my bag. What a mess in here, can you write with the tampon? Beggars can't be choosers. Or if you were in a coffee shop when she was approached by a young suitor and you were regaled to, No thanks, conceited greasy face. There are plenty of other tables. I'd like you if you were nicer. It wouldn't hurt to take a shower. Eventually, she learned to sing at more socially acceptable times, and she honed her skills without losing any of the honesty or vigor for life. Her language started changing too. She would ask for a soft serve cone at the ice cream store. Chocolate or vanilla, the clerk would ask. Yes, she would reply. When someone would give her an option, she would say yes more often than not. She ended up eating lots of swirled ice cream, getting soups, salads, and fries with her entrees, and often when she would go to a movie, she would see the 5 o'clock, the 7:15, and the 9:45. All of this eating and sitting widened her girth, which instead of slowing her down, added more resonance to her ever-growing voice. More weight just meant more of her to love. She embodied voluptuousness. Other things about her language changed as well. Things would blend together. Someone who was tan and handsome would be referred to as tansome. A big talker who wasn't very smart, also known as a wide-mouthed idiot, would also be called a widiot. So, to give a real-life example, later in her career, when Sally had broken things off with a local weatherman, she was quoted as saying, That tansome little widiot wouldn't know if it was raining cat dog if he was standing in it till he was sweaty. And somehow, everyone would know exactly what she was talking about. Later, historians and biographers would mark her moment on the car as tantamount to Jesus in the burning bush, or Buddha under the Bodhi tree. In their pretentious, sophist way, they would talk of that moment when she transcended her duality and became whole, how she turned her back on the fruit of knowledge and stepped back into the Garden of Eden, always extending a hand back to us, inviting us in with her voice, the siren song that leads us not to rocks, but to salvation. And at the same time, her songs uplifted and instructed us about municipal tax codes, how to write off depreciation of non-taxable luxury items, how to maximize our earned income tax credits, and the many traps and pitfalls of the alternative minimum tax. And her songs live on in history. Love songs like Let's Make Our Love Last Into the Years by maximizing our IRA deduction on Form 1040, line 32. And songs of hurt, such as Schedule C, Stay Close to Me, Don't Write Me Off Like You Do. And protest songs, like the radical hit, If I Didn't Have the Alternative Minimum Tax, I'd Have to Pay No Tax at All. Maybe those critics and biographers were right. Sally did teach us how to use the government instead of being used by the government, so in the end, we were all rich. Not just in our wallets, but in our hearts. And it is with all of our hearts now that we raise our glasses to the sky and say, Here's to you, Sally Tripelli, CPA.